Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Russian troops encircled? Is that what's gonna be? Well, I don't know. It seems like Ukrainians are still advancing, and their counteroffensive was dead a little bit, and now it seems like it's back. I don't know if the counteroffensive is a good one or the Russians are losing steam. So this article comes from Newsweek. It's from today, the 28th of September 2022. Ukraine troops encircling Russian forces as Putin faces major defeat. Wow. So Ukrainian troops are encircling Russian forces in Lyman, not Izium, Lyman, an occupied town in the northeast of the country, as Kiev presses on with its counteroffensive to recapture seized territory. Lyman. For me, Lyman and Izium, the same sound, at least in my brain. I know it doesn't sound, but maps detailing Ukrainians' advance in the region amid a continued counteroffensive show its forces moving north across the Siversky Donetsk River from areas east and west of town, and east across the Oxil River from positions north of Lyman. Encircling. And are about to go, maybe like they did in Stalingrad. The British Defense Ministry assessed on Wednesday that over the last few days Ukraine has passed its offensive operations in the northeast of the country. Its units advanced on at least two axes east from the line of the Oskil and Severodonetsk River, where forces had consolidated following their previous advance earlier in the month. Mike Martin, a fellow at the Department of War Studies of King's College in London, very important person, said on Twitter that Ukrainian forces may eventually trap Russian forces in Lyman. And I'm quoting, "Drive flanks north and east of Lyman, causing the Russians to reinforce this critical railroad junction," end quote, he tweeted. And I'm quoting again, "Then drive a much bigger encircling movement to trap the whole lot." It comes after a successful lightning counteroffensive by Ukraine earlier this month, which saw Kiev capture large swaths of its territory from Russia. Well, the way they show it on the map, it seems like well, there's two major counteroffensives pointed like this, so maybe they will go like that. Ukrainian forces say they took back more than 3,000 square miles from Russian forces in less than 2 weeks, recapturing towns and cities and cutting off Russian supply lines. They reported that they liberated 453 settlements. That was yesterday. Well, Putin responded on September 21st by announcing a partial military mobilization of up to 300,000 citizens, while Russia installed officials held sham referendums on joining Russia in Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporozhye and Kherson. They voted, and they are part of Russia whenever these guys are going to sign the papers. They validated the referenda and they send the paper to Moscow, and we'll see what's going on. According to Russia's state-owned RIA Novosti, the reported results included 99.23% in favor in Donetsk and 98.42% in favor in Luhansk, two regions partially under pro-Moscow separatist control since 2014, as well as 93.11% in favor in Zaporozhye and 87.05% in Kherson. Okay, well, so in Lyman, supposedly the Ukrainians are about to encircle the Russian army. Well, I don't know who's got worse news here. Is it the Ukrainian or is the Russian? And I will tell you why. I tell you why. Is bad for the Russians and also is bad for Ukrainian, and after all is bad, I think, for all of us. And I tell you because this newly acquired territories by Russia, they will be incorporated in Russia. They will be their territory, and this Ukrainian forces will be on the Russian territory when these guys sign the papers and whatever they finalize the whole thing. According to the Russians, those forces are already inside their territory. So that's bad for the Ukrainians. Now, why it's bad for Russians? It's bad for Russians because they are losing, because they have those forces, and at least in that area, according to the Ukrainian sources, they are losing. So that's bad for the Russians. Otherwise, wouldn't be necessary to think of Plan X. You know, if these guys are going to be outside, and you say, okay, this is the border, and the Ukrainians are outside. Okay, then no problem for the Russians and so on. The problem is also this, where it's bad for all of us, obviously, is when politically the Russians will decree that and validate the referenda in all those 4 portions, territories. They will, the US, the Russian constitution will apply to those territories. And if the Ukrainians continue to shoot there, the Russians have the right, according to them, to take care of them in which way they like. And if they consider that the use of nuclear weapons is appropriate based on their, protocol and dogma and military doctrine, then it's bad for all of us. Why? I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think they're going to use nuclear weapons on these guys. But if these guys continue to advance and you can't push them back, I think they will claim we need to use that. And what they will do, I think, will be this. They will give them an ultimatum. They'll say, ultimatum. By, 2100, you stop. If you don't stop shooting and you start moving backwards, we will do something. We will use any means necessary. The Ukrainians will not stop because the guys in the West, and why should they? They consider that being their territory. So what do you want? You know what I mean? These guys say, no, it's ours. Those guys say, no, it's ours, because the Russians liberated that territory. The Ukrainians liberated the same territory. That's why these things could have been solved with the Minsk protocols and agreements, 2014 and 2015, Minsk 1, Minsk 2. But if you really wanted to get here, do what you do best, and you got it. So some people are counting the money and are waiting. The problem is, I think things get out of control, and Russia will use tactical nuclear weapons over there, and nobody's going to move. I guarantee you that. I have an article where they say, well, we might move with conventional weapons. Pfft, okay, yeah, and the Russians will be in the mood to fight you with conventional weapons. I guarantee you that will not happen. Encirclement. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.